Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining me in the music room today for this episode of Fat City Spinout, number 25. Records either new to the collection or that have seen a listen again recently. Thanks everyone who's been following along with my Lee Perry series, Expansive. Appreciate your patience with that one. Some of the episodes getting a bit long, but a lot of material to cover and an incredible catalog of music. About 4 more episodes to come in that series, I believe. The next one will be the longest of all as we get into the decline and fall of Lee Perry and his fabled Black Ark Studio, so watch out for those. The final 3 videos detailing somewhat of his later years. I've been continuing my fascination with Bollywood films. Some of you showed some interest in previous mentions. Thought I'd include another film recommendation, one I saw recently, a film called Swades from 2004. I believe the title translates as Our Homeland, something of a meditation on India itself, the nation, some of the social and economic problems facing it, as well as some of the beauty, the culture, the traditions, some beautiful acting and filming in this. It stars Shah Rukh Khan, quite a big star in Indian cinema, as a man named Mohan, who was born in India, educated in the US, works as a project manager at NASA there. It's busy, successful, but something is missing in his life. He goes back to the old country to reconnect with someone from his childhood. His journey takes him to a small village out in the country. What attracted to me about this film was it's by the same director as an earlier one that I really enjoyed from 2001 called Lagan, also set in a small country village with these vividly drawn characters of the villagers and touching on some of the problems facing the nation, social and economic issues through the microcosm of this village and the personalities that inhabit it. Somewhat of a similar feel in this movie, Swades, also a very long film, 4 hours, kind of slow, deliberate, almost elegiac as it unfolds. This character and his journey, he becomes irrevocably changed by some of his experiences, the people he meets in this small village and in his travels. In the scene I'm going to show you, he's been sent by some of his friends on a errand to another village, quite some journey away, to collect back rent from a tenant farmer, and some of the things he sees on this side journey shock him to his core and leave him profoundly changed. Quite a critically acclaimed film, considered one of the best performances by the star Shah Rukh Khan, and directed by the same director as an earlier film which was nominated for an International Academy Award, Lagan.
यात्रा करके आए हैं, थक गए होंगे, थोड़ा आराम कर लीजिए। बाजरा बाजरे की रोटी बना दें। चलो भीतर खेलो। आइए। अब देने लायक होता तो खुद ही चरण पर आ जाता। खेती किसानी करने से पहले मैं जुलाई करता था। मशीनों का बढ़िया कपड़ा आने लगा तो करके का मुंह सूख गया। फिर मैंने हाल पकड़ा, गीता जी से जमीन किराए पे ली। सोचा था पसीना फसल बन के लहराएगा तो बच्चों की जिंदगी सुधर जाएगी, और सब धरा का धरा रहेगा। जो बची उसको खरीदने से हाथ खींच लिए। इसी कारण गीता जी का किराया भी रुक गया। ये तो गलत है, नाइंसाफी है, बल्कि जुल्म है। यही यहाँ की रीत है साहब। पेट में खाने को दाना नहीं, पहनने को शरीर में कपड़े नहीं, रहने को छत नहीं, न बच्चों की पढ़ाई, न जमीन। मेरे आंसुओं का स्वाद मोहन बाबू मेरे मन का नमक ही समझता। हरिदास जी चलते। बुरा मत मानिएगा, ये कुछ पैसे हैं, आप रख लीजिए। आपकी बड़ी मेहरबानी मोहन जी, पर ये मैं नहीं ले सकता। प्लीज हरिदास जी, आप रख लीजिए, जब आपके पास हो तब लौटा दीजिएगा। पर मुझे नहीं पता मैंने कब लौटा पाऊंगा। चिंता मत कीजिए।
Shortly before my recent holidays, I managed to get down to the record shops in town and finally caught up with something I'd been interested in from the earlier record store day drop of the year. Was one of the favorites of that drop of the guy working in the shop too. We were commenting on it. And it's another one from the Real Gone music label, Brian Bennett's Voyage, a disc journey into discoid funk, originally released 1978, as you can surmise from the title, gets into a bit of disco, a bit of funk. It's a quite library music-ish instrumental album, here reissued on marble blue vinyl, very spacey looking. Voyage, you can tell by the cover art, obviously referencing a certain blockbuster sci-fi film released in the late 1970s, a year before this album. Brian Bennett was actually the drummer in long-running British instrumental band The Shadows. The Shadows with Brian Bennett, drums and percussion, but he developed a sideline working on composing library music for TV and film, and this is one of several solo albums he released in that vein, never before released in the US. Very cosmic themed space rock with some funk and disco elements. Very cool album, reissued in North America by Real Gone Music. This out for a listen again recently. It is the 2010 debut album of Best Coast, Crazy for You. Best Coast is the California-based duo of lead singer, songwriter Bethany Cosentino with multi-instrumentalist Bob Bruno. Uniquely Californian sound here with a blend of the 60s girl group sound, harmonic AM pop, a touch of a country twang in some of Cosentino's vocals, a bit of a punk influence as well. She comes from something of an indie and punk background into, again, a uniquely Californian sound, but one recalling not so much the mythical sun and surf of the Beach Boys, but a much more current California of skate parks, hip vintage boutiques, parking lots, that sort of thing. Tales of unrequited love as Cosentino puts her feelings out there in these songs. Best Coast, Crazy for You. One of the biggest breakout stars in the reggae world the last few years has been a slight-built young female by the name of Michaela Victoria Simpson, aka Koffee with a K, a high school nickname. She first surfaced in 2017 when she posted a video just herself singing along on acoustic guitar with something of her church background apparent in her vocals to runner Usain Bolt. He shared that video, got her notice from producers. She recorded her debut single, Burning, soon after that. She's still in her teens, barely out of school. However, it was a song called Toast that really broke her through on a much larger level, far beyond the traditional reggae domain. Something about her rapid-fire, half-sung, half-DJ'd lyrics, her youth, her positivity, sunny personality, and her authentic Jamaican dance hall, straight from yard image was a breath of fresh air. In 2020, she won the Reggae Grammy Award, becoming both the first female and youngest person ever to do so, all this without an actual album on the market, just an EP. She was signed to a major label record deal. However, in 2020, the pandemic hit, delayed plans for her album, but early 2022 saw her debut LP, Gifted, finally arrive from Sony Records. Quite a short LP, under 30 minutes, contains some singles that have previously been released, including final one, Lockdown, which is a direct comment on the events of 2020. Where are we going to go? When to quarantine thing done, she says on that song, kind of pensively. The very first thing you hear on the album is a sample of Bob Marley's Redemption song, which may strike some as a bit of hubris. However, Koffee's whole theme, her motif, is one of acknowledging the gifts she's been given, the many blessings she has been granted to be able to pursue her music, and paying tribute to that with gratitude. And those themes are more fully developed. They've been present since her very first song, that tribute to Usain Bolt called Legend, and it's still present, fleshed out more on her first album. I believe she's 22 now. She's maturing. If you've only listened to reggae from the 1970s, this may not sound like reggae at all to you. Her generation is more tuned into US-style hip-hop, R&B, pop, grime from the UK, pure reggae, and even dancehall is her parents' generation's music, but there is something of reggae in the DNA there. She wants to bring her music to as wide an audience as possible, and has been very successful in doing so. Koffee, Gifted, brand new release from an artist we'll be hearing more from for many years to come, Koffee. Reggae singer Lascelles Weiss-Bulgin was born in 1955 in Jamaica. He was afflicted with polio before the age of 2 years old, rendering him unable to use his legs. He would grow up in the Mona Rehabilitation Facility in Kingston, where he befriended two similarly afflicted youths by the name of Albert Apple Craig and Cecil Skeleton Spence. The three would discover a shared love of music, of singing, which allowed them to transcend their disability. However, a growing spiritual commitment to Rastafari in the late 1960s and early 1970s would see them ejected from the Mona premises from various trades and jobs they attempted to pick up. They would endure poverty, homelessness, busking on the streets to survive. Eventually, they were taken under the wing of the 12 Tribes of Israel organization of Rastafari, which would finance their initial recordings as an official harmony trio by the name of Israel Vibration. Eventually, they were discovered by producer and talent promoter Tommy Cowan, who oversaw their initial hit singles and their classic 1978 debut album, The Same Song, here on the top ranking label. Classic late 70s roots album. There's Weiss there, along with Skeleton and Apple Craig. The group would record further albums, would tour internationally, particularly in the US, where they had a strong fan base. However, by the early 1980s, they had split up. An unexpected second act for the group would occur when they reunited in the late 1980s, but in the middle of the decade, Weiss issued a solo album entitled Mr. Sunshine, which was released in the US on Hyman Wright's Jaw Life label out of Brooklyn, New York. Also recorded at Philip Smart's HC&F studio. Philip Smart, former protege and dub mixer at King Tubby's studio. Weiss, straight up roots reggae here, very rhythmically heavy with the sort of plaintive vocals of Israel Vibration, very clear in the vocals here. Includes a fairly psychedelic number in Haunted Valley, very eerie, quoting from that famous line from the Psalms, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." Weiss, Mr. Sunshine, reissue from the DKR label out of Brooklyn. First time reissue. Originals of this will go for a fair amount of money, into the triple digits. So nice to have it reissued for the first time. Wrap up this episode of Fat City Spinout, you guys. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for joining me once again. I may put this series on hold while I finish off my Lee Perry series. Like I say, 3 or 4 more videos to go. So thanks everyone for your patience with that. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Cheers and take care.